Hello, welcome to FinInvest Niger. My name is Tom Princeville. I'm a certified securities and investment specialist, and I've been investing for the past 20 years. I want us to understand the fact that before you carry out meaningful investments in a given company, there's need for you to carry out research analysis on the company to determine its suitability for investments or not. So in this case, you carry out what is called fundamental analysis. Personally, I am a value investor. So generally, I carry out fundamental analysis to determine a company's suitability for investments. Now, the fact is that without this analysis, you will not be able to properly determine precisely whether the company is worth you putting money into or not. So you don't just invest blindly. You analyze the company's financials. So in that case, talk about the balance sheet, the cash flow statements, and also the income statements. So the entire process is not that difficult. Even as a non-accountant, it's something you can very easily grasp if you pay adequate attention. Personally, I'm not an accountant. I have engineering background, so I kind of learned the act of analyzing a typical financial statement as I grew deeper into my quest for investment knowledge. So in this video, I want to talk about how you could analyze the financials of this particular company, Aradel Plc, to know precisely whether it is worth your investment or not. So I want to start with an aspect of the financial statement known as the income statement. So in this particular section, we're going to be looking at the companies themselves, as well as the profits, and also the earnings per share. So we start with the company's revenue as indicated here, and you have two columns here: the third quarter 2025 as well as the corresponding third quarter 2024. So you realize that as at the third quarter of 2025, the company made a revenue, had a turnover of 538.810 billion, 538.810 billion. That was at the turnover as at this particular time period. Then for 2024 third quarter, the company recorded 377.581 billion. So in other words, the sales, the revenue grew from 377.581 billion to 538.810 billion. So you could observe a kind of increment in revenue, in sales, in this particular statement. We don't stop there. We've had an increase here. That's a very good beginning. It's actually an enticing prospect. So we'll continue to the gross profit. So let's look at the gross profit figure here. The gross profit essentially is in the revenue minus expenses. In layman's language, minus expenses, you have the gross profit. The gross profit for the year, for the third quarter 2025 was 234.725 billion. All right, 234.725 billion. That was the gross profits out of this particular sales. And then for the third quarter of 2024, the gross profit here is 210.778 billion. 210.778 billion. There's an increment here from 210 billion or 211 billion approximately to 235 billion naira approximately, in gross profit. We now go to the operating profit. Operating profit simply means the profit itself minus operating expenditure like payroll, like rents, administrative costs, and the rest. So you deduct it from, so that will give you the operating profit. So in this case, the operating profit here is 167.530 billion naira. 167.530 billion naira as against 169.081 billion. That is the change in operating profits. Now, it brings us down to the profit before tax. That's the profit the company generated before the normal taxation. So in this case, the profit before tax here is 300.684 billion. 300.684 billion. That is for the third quarter 2025, as against 191.457 billion, for the subsequent quarter of 2020 and 24. That is the figure. There's a growth from 191 billion to 300 billion. That is the net profit figure. So we now come to the profit after tax. The profit after tax here, you discover that the amount indicated here is 245.125 billion as against 110.579 billion. That is the profit after tax. All right. So there's a growth here from approximately 111 billion to 245 billion naira. So the entire, financials here, the figures here are kind of encouraging. The company is on the right trajectory towards, having an eventual encouraging earnings per share. So we now look at the total comprehensive income. For the total comprehensive income, the value here was 191.799 billion as against 686.754 billion naira. So there is a kind of drop in total comprehensive income, and also we proceeds to the most important part of these segments of our analysis is the parameter indicated here, and that is the earnings per share. All right, don't be carried away by the billions you are seeing up here. This is almost like half a trillion. Forget about these ones. All right, they are important actually, but the most critical, the most important, figure when it comes to analyzing a company is nothing but its earning per share. Its earnings per share here is is indicated here as 555 naira 90 kobo as against 25 naira 40 kobo. All right, 55 naira 90 kobo as against 25 naira 40 kobo. So what essentially is earning per share? Earning per share simply means you take the company's profit after tax, all right, and you divide it by the number of shares outstanding. All right, you divide the profit after tax by the number of shares outstanding. That will give you the earnings per share. This figure is so important in the sense that this singular figure, not really the sales or the turnovers or the profits or whatsoever, this is a figure that determines dividends, the amount the company pays out a dividend, and this singular value is what determines the trajectory of the share price. Okay, in this case, there's an increase. There's a doubling in earning per share from here, 25 naira 40 kobo to 55 naira 90 kobo. The earning per share doubles. And in a case where the earning per share doubles, all things being equal, all right, give that particular stock between 9 months and a year, that company will grow by at least 50%. All right, with the company that has recorded a doubling in earning per share, an increase in earning per share by about 100%, that company is bound to grow by at least 50% within the next 9 months to 12 months, all things being equal, if the company continues in this particular growth trajectory. Now we are through with this particular aspect of the financials. We now want to look at the other aspect too that are also very important. All right, so we look at the price. The price is 780 naira. That is the current price of Aradel Plc. Aradel actually is a company in the oil and gas sector. It's into oil refining, oil drilling, production and other related activities. It's an oil company actually, and so this is the price of 180 naira, and the earnings, the shares outstanding, the company shares outstanding is 4.34 billion. 4.34 billion is the is a share outstanding, and so the market capitalization is 3.39 trillion. And how do you get the market capitalization? Is by simply multiplying the price by the shares outstanding. In other words, you multiply 780 by 4.34 billion. That will give you the market capitalization. All right, and so we don't stop there. We want to equally look at the company's PE ratio. The PE ratio essentially means the price of the company, the price all over the world, all over the earning per shares. That will give you the PE ratio, and the PE ratio determines how cheap or how expensive the company is. So in this case, the company has a lower double-digit PE ratio, which indicates the company is relatively cheap. It's not very expensive, and this is just the third quarter PE ratio. By the fourth quarter, this particular number, this value could even drop below this, making it cheaper than what it is even currently. And so we also look at the equity. Equity simply means the company's assets minus its liabilities. Its assets minus its liabilities. So by the time you subtract those two figures, you arrive at 1.498 billion naira. That's the company's equity. That means the company has a very sound and a strong balance sheet. Some companies have negative equity. In that case, the company is passing through difficulties financially. So in the case we have here now, in this particular case, the equity is positive. That is, the company has sufficient assets to cover its liability, and this is the difference, between the asset and the liability, amounting to 1.498 billion naira. And so you can even go ahead and you try to quantify the equity per share. All right, you divide the equity all over the shares outstanding, and the figure here is at 0.345 trillion naira. So we don't stop there. We now go to the cash flow statement. Is an important and integral part of a typical company's financial. So in this case, the company has a cash at hand, cash in the bank, and a fixed deposit of 399.516 billion naira. So the company is cash rich. All right, the company has sufficient cash to be able to cover, any contingency, as the case may be. And you even discover that the company's cash is even more than what the company generated as profit, after tax. Imagine that the company has a cash in the bank, a cash balance of more than what it had even as net profits. All right, and so considering all these wonderful, fantastic fundamentals, I would like to, although this particular video is for educational purpose, but then I will give this company a buy recommendation. All right, it's something that is worth buying, something that is worth making a part of your portfolio if you so wish, and that's the essence of me carrying out this particular analysis. Essentially, this is what you do before you buy stock. It's not difficult. Anybody can do it. It's a matter of getting interested and then listening attentively and having an idea of basic elementary, peripheral accounting. Okay, so you can equally do it as well. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you've not done that. Share this video, because my heart desire and my target, my goal, my aim is to reach out to at least 1 million Nigerians with this particular message on investing in the stock market. So you and I can do it. Pay attention to the videos I produce, and also you could equally have access to other ones in the channel as well. So I'm counting and depending on you. Help me spread this wonderful message of wealth creation through the stock market.